which device I'm looking at. We'll get the meeting rolling. Welcome, everybody, and special welcome to Chief Superintendent Peer. So welcome. So we'll get the meeting rolling. Can I have call the meeting to order? Could I have the approval of the agenda, please? Laura, second by Mayor Ostrander. All in favor, just put your hand up if you can. Perfect, thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? I don't hear any, so we're all good to go. We have a couple of sets of minutes that since our last regular meeting of April 23rd, sorry, March 26th. Could I have a mover, please, to bring it to the floor? David? Any discussion or questions or errors or omissions on those both sets of minutes? Having heard none, then could I have well, we do have a motion to approve. A seconder?
Yes.
Or Mayor Ostrander, all in favor? Thank you. We do, as I mentioned before, a delegation, and we have with us Chief Superintendent Dwight Peer. Welcome to the Brighton PSB, and the floor is yours.
Oh, well, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate getting some time on your agenda to say hello, and I really wanted to bring some greetings from Central Region headquarters. So, Mr. Chair and Mayor Ostrander, thank you very much. I'm Dwight Peer. I'm the regional commander for Central, and I just wanted to touch base with your police service board, just to say, sort of give you a little bit of an explanation about what our role is in the overall service delivery from an OPP standpoint. Clearly, you're very familiar with Jeff and Mario, and I do believe they do an excellent job in Northumberland in leading their troops and delivering a fine police service to you there. Central Region headquarters, our real purpose is to support them in their duties and do everything we can to make sure that they have what they need and that their people are supported in every way. I have a couple of superintendents here that help me do that. Jim Smith and Bradley McCallum. Brad McCallum is our superintendent for the Northumberland side. We call it the east side of the region, and Central Region is comprised of 13 detachments, and we have detachments from Caledon to Huntsville, and on the diagonal over from Collingwood right out to Brighton. So we have just over 1,000 personnel in the region and 13 detachment locations. So of course we have a beautiful area of the province, the police. So we're pretty broad, diverse area, and we certainly have our share of provincial parks and conservation areas and waterfront that brings tourism to our doorstep. I don't have to tell you that there's been a number of challenges with that with respect to the whole pandemic and the various shutdowns and reopenings that we've had. I think our people have done a great job adjusting. It's been somewhat frustrating as we see different laws introduced. It is difficult with different restrictions on citizens, and then our officers having to adjust to what's the rule today. And then 2 hours ago, perhaps it was not illegal, but now it is something that there's been a restriction placed on. So everybody's had to show a lot of resilience throughout this. And I do think we have some reason to be optimistic now with the vaccination levels going up and the virus numbers going down. We are still committed to our PPE use when we're interacting with the public and with each other. And we're gonna stay on that footing until we learn otherwise, and things improve even a little bit more. But from an organizational standpoint, we are looking to refocus our efforts. Clearly, when you're out on the road, you can see the traffic volumes rising, and we have to be prepared to meet that demand. So we're going to be looking. We just had a recent detachment commander meeting where we discussed, making sure everybody's prepared to engage at the highest levels, get back to a little bit of a more of a regular approach. We have been enforcing throughout, but as I say, the traffic volumes and the movement of people have been a little bit different throughout the pandemic. And now it seems everybody's very keen to get outdoors and go where they wish to go. So we're going to be there to meet that demand and keep everybody safe. And that's an important aspect of what we do from a service delivery standpoint. I think I did want to take some time to sort of let you know that I started in January 2020, and I'm sorry I haven't come out and seen you previously, but we kind of got into COVID very quickly after that, and with the restrictions and everything, I have been making my way around to the different PSBs virtually and meeting. It was important to me that you could put a face to the name. Hopefully Jeff and Mario have positive things to say about our command in supporting them, but at least if they say, if they mention Dwight Peer, you can at least, we will have met. And what my wish is that I don't want to be a stranger to your board. I want you to know that that I am here and my command is here to support Jeff. And if there's anything that, if you had any broader questions about OPP operations, or certainly if you have positive comments that you want to pass along or some advice on how we could improve things, I would really welcome those comments in whatever manner you wish to express them. And we're committed to providing excellence in service, and that's from me to you. So I just wanted to connect with you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have in general about the OPP or what we're doing currently, if you wish to do that.
Well, thank you so much, Chief Superintendent. It was great to get an update, I guess, and get to meet you on face-to-face, although through Zoom. Any questions that anybody might have of the Chief Superintendent? Well, you're doing such a great job. Nobody's got any questions.
I hope that's the case, and we are open to dialogue, and
Yes.
we're open to suggestions, and we have, I can tell you, Central Region has taken on policing services in Orangeville most recently. So that's a fairly large undertaking. We have certainly changed our footprint in Dufferin County, and we've also taken on services in Shelburne. So we're actually providing services to the entire county of Dufferin now. And I was born over in Mount Forest, so it's the one place I can go to where they actually appreciate I'm from the neighborhood there directly. So anyway, our footprint is changing. We've got Midland, and we do the entire Penetang Peninsula up there now. We've got a lot of personnel in the area, and as Jeff knows, if we have any major incidents, we certainly can support with those other resources and bring them to bear on issues that we may have going on locally.
Well, again, thank you so much for being here. I'm sure we'll try not to be strangers from as we move forward. And you're certainly welcome to stay for the duration of the meeting. But again, thank you very much for being here this morning. So I know the board appreciates it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I will leave you to your deliberations and move on with some other things I have going on, but I know you're in good hands with Jeff and Mario there. So thanks, guys, and good luck with the rest of your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks, Chief.
So
Thank you, Chief.
we'll move on to item 6, business arising from the minutes. I guess we should have did that before, but nevertheless, the only thing that I would bring forward is that I believe Lloyd and I were the only two that attended the OAPSB AGM 2-3 weeks ago. I found it very informative, and there was a lot of discussion about one detachment service police board, and they sort of gave us an update from the minute where the ministry is, which weren't things that we sort of knew already. As you know, we submitted our application before the deadline of June the 7th. We learned that during the AGM that sometimes towards the end of this month, beginning of July, we should get some kind of feedback, whether we crossed every T or dotted every I. So unless, Lloyd, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I just wanted to say that when they talked about the one police service board, when I sat there and listened to it, Lou, you had updated us on everything that they talked about, so we were well informed. So thanks for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, so I think it was very good. It's also good to share. It's challenging sometimes to do it, virtually like we did. I did a couple of AGMs now from different organizations, and it's not the same. So that's all I can say. Maybe that just shows my age, but nevertheless. Any other business arising from those minutes? Haven't heard none. Then we'll move on to monthly report. And if I might suggest, Jeff, is that I wasn't prepared to print 50 pages at home. So maybe if we can refer to page numbers when we're talking, and I'm not sure if they coincide with our agenda. Do they, Tom or Jeff?
Yes, certainly, Mr. Chair. Question from Tom, if I could hit share screen, and then everybody. And if you're ready, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead with that.
We're ready, but that's great, Jeff.
There we go. Well, I see it at my end. Hopefully everyone sees the first page of the report.
It looks great. Yes.
Sorry. My screen pulled a little bit closer for my aging eyes. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see everyone, and especially Mario covered the last quarterly meeting for me. So nice to see Lloyd and David as part of the group.
Thank you.
So this report, it's for the March, April, May period. Of course, when we have multiple months, it's a little bit longer. And if there's any particular area that you want me to dive deeper into, just let me know. So as far as public complaints, there is a typo there. It shows, and these are new complaints that have come into us through OARPD over 3 months. So those zeros, that actually just reflects the month of May, because we didn't have any new complaints in May. However, over March and April, there were actually 3, and they were under service. So if we could amend that, please. All of which I know the details of, and they have been processed through and withdrawn by the complainant. Secondary employment remains at 2. So only 2 officers through the cluster detachment that have approved employment outside of the OPP. Under our reporting patrol hours, 855 3/4 cruiser patrol hours in Brighton. And just keep in mind that that's simply, we use our own OPP DAR system, and there's just hundreds and hundreds of activity codes that the officers use. And that 855 represents only 1, and that's true proactive patrol in Brighton. I find, and I know it's shared with other detachment commanders throughout the province, that the setup of this template, it's getting a little bit long in the tooth, and I feel it doesn't accurately represent what our folks are doing from the title page, because I find that 855 number, it sort of draws your attention to it, and sometimes some members might feel that that's the only hours that we're putting into the area, which isn't the case. That's just that one particular code called cruiser patrol hours. Foot patrol hours, 27 and a quarter, and school patrol a low 2, but that makes sense. Staffing updates over this time period. So we're very excited and pleased to receive 6 new recruits last week. They hit the detachment fresh out of Ontario Police College and the OPP Academy. That type of number of new recruits is almost unheard of. And in the past 6 months, 8 months, both Mario and I, we've been working hard as a command team, just showing our bosses and Chief Peter, of course, the sort of demands and attachment and challenges that we have. And when we're able to do that, sometimes we're able to get more officers coming to the academy that way. So 6 recruits. In the next few weeks, we will be sharing a video with all the boards, very similar to the introduction video of our 4 recruits that arrived last October. That was very well received. It gives the recruits an opportunity to introduce themselves to the boards and tell a little bit about themselves. So those 6 recruits, they're partnered with their coach officer for a 1-year period. Mario and I are both very particular of who we choose as a coach officer, because it's such a critical position. And I think anybody in the OPP or even retired from the OPP has very vivid memories and recollections of their first year on this job and how much of an impact that their coach officer meant as they transitioned from a civilian life into a police officer life. So we set our bar pretty high around here as far as the coach, and very happy to say we have 6 very engaged high-level officers that are delivering those coaching services. On top of those 6 new recruits, we also are receiving over the next 2 weeks 2 more experienced officers into the cluster detachment. Derek Lafleur is a 30-year OPP officer from the Barrie area, and he's moving out into actually the Salem area, and he'll be working directly out of the Brighton detachment, and Derek arrives July 7th. And then another experienced officer, what the OPP calls an EPO, so an experienced officer program. He's a Durham Regional Police officer with 8 years experience, and he's been selected by the OPP to transition across and patch over with the OPP. Jeff Tyler is his name, and Jeff will be working out of the Coburg site. And then come September, we have confirmed that we'll be receiving 3 more additional probationary constables, so no new recruits again. At least 1, most likely 2, will be working out of the Brighton site, and that's the 3 confirmed. But my chief super can tell me that we're always requesting more and working in the various areas to get more uniformed bodies in the area. So overall, as far as staffing, as the detached commander, I'm quite pleased on this trend, and it's one of those jobs that we work on every day to try and submit information and data to our regional command as far as obtaining more officers. So I had a Port Hope Police Services Board yesterday afternoon, and Chair Jeff Gilmer asked me if we were up to complement yet, and happy to say that we're actually 3 overstaffed at this time with these new bodies, which hasn't happened in a very long time. And with more bodies coming in September, that'll even be beyond that current overstaffing. Any questions on staffing, Mr. Chair, before I move on?
Yeah, so well, I have a question, just a short one. So how many vacancies did we have?
Well, it depends. It's sort of a moving target. It depends on, really what's going on. With retirements, Angela Ward, she retired July 1st. It really is a moving target. So I think the lowest we were for the end of 2020, 2021 was 3 vacancies. But that's sort of part of the art or the science of keeping our numbers up, is forecasting when your vacancies are going to be, really staying in touch with the staffing inspector out of Central Region, because what happens there as a region, and as an example out of this recruit class, so there was 34 new OPP officers, the graduated recruit class. Sorry, it's a greater number than that, but Central Region received 34 officers. So then it's command's decision, depending on the pressures from each of those 13 detachments, to assign those officers to the areas. That's how it works for recruits. The experienced officer classes, it's a little bit of a different process depending on their experience, their skill set, and where that experienced officer is willing to move to. So with a detachment our size, because we have 84 uniform officers, it really is up and down, depending on temporary assignments outside the detachment, retirements, and other matters like that that do affect our vacancies. And it can change. It changes about every 2 or 3 weeks. But the lowest we were in the past 6 months, Lou, was down about 3. And that's fairly typical. What we do is really try to forecast at least 6 months ahead and communicate upward chain of command to let them know, because they're very busy at their end, and they have to, of course, take care of all those 13 detachments in Central. So that's something that Marilyn and I have been doing for quite some time now. And I have to say it's working. The holes are filled. It's seamless. We're actually getting the new bodies in before the others leave. And I know that's a very positive morale impact on platoons, of course, for staffing. And to the point, Mario and I sometimes get emails from other detachments wondering what we're doing down here or what kind of favor. But sorry, that was a longer explanation of the vacancies, but that's in a nutshell how it works.
That's great. Thank you. David, you got your hand up.
Yes, please. Jeff, I missed, how long does an officer stay with a coach officer?
The probation period, David, is 1 year. As far as working side by side, so there's a few SOPs under OPP police orders. They are basically joined at the hip for the first 8 weeks, where they're partnered up in the car, day shifts as well. Generally, OPP officers don't partner up for general duties on day shift unless a call for service risk level is elevated. So after the 8-week period, and depending on their evaluations and all the criteria and expectations are met, then the chain of command detachment commander will sign off that they're basically given their day wings, as they call it. So they're allowed to patrol on their own after that 8-week period. However, they have to still remain in that same patrol zone as their coach. So in Brighton, you may have 2 or 3 officers now working Brighton for a little bit during the day, because you usually have 2. Now you're going to have the rookie. At the 4-month period, then that can be expanded. And again, as long as all the criteria, and there's a lot of it, and we have high expectations, that's all met and satisfactory, then the officer gets their night wings, as they call it. OPP policy is that officers double up at 10 p.m. every night where practicable. Sometimes it isn't, just depending if we have an odd number of officers in. So if required, that recruit at the 4-month mark may patrol on their own at night. It's not ideal, but if required, they do so. Evaluations go right up to the 10-month mark, and then the recommendation is provided to the detached commander, and then up from there as far as their permanency to the OPP. And if that's granted, then they're off probation and off to other 29 years plus of policing. And there have been cases where we have let people go and work with them through work improvement plans, et cetera, through that entire period of time. But for whatever reason, the performance wasn't met, and we've let them go from employment with the OPP.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? I see none. So Jeff, carry on.
Thank you. A number of detachment initiatives through this period, of course. Ride programs countywide in March, we had 75. In April, we had 32. In May, we had 48. I've included, we have several media releases, crime prevention, public education type messages coming out from corporate communications as well as locally. So we just throw in a couple here for that period of time. We're not going to include all of them, of course. Constant fraud alerts and public education on the newest scam that's going around. We had a seatbelt provincial enforcement initiative during that time. It was quite successful locally. Another local media release in April 29th, we had a longer term joint drug investigation, simultaneous arrest in house warrants going on, one in Quinte West and one in Brighton on Grove Street, which was successful as far as the arrests and the impact to the community and what those two individuals were, what their negative impact to the community was in the drug circles. A little bit more on, I'm sorry, I'm sharing my screen and I'm not doing a very good job here. Still looking down at my paper here. So this one is just our ATV patrol. So we have a very active ATV patrol within Northumberland. Most of it is through the pay duty system, where the county of Northumberland for the Northumberland Forest, we work for the Ganaraska Conservation Area about 3 or 4 times a year as well. We do have one of our resources out of Central Region is the SAVE unit. And that's a group of traffic enforcement officers who are dedicated to ATV, trail safety, marine, and snowmobile patrol. So this is an example when they came down in April and just some results of enforcement throughout the county. This is an internal document, but I wanted to share it with the boards. It just shows the ongoing efficiencies that the OPP's always looking for. And I think it needs a little bit of explanation, but it just shows frontline efficiencies, total 68,000 hours in the first quarter of 2020 was saved or reallocated back to the front line through the use of the new 911 response system, where we're not responding directly to all of those pocket dials and whatnot. At the bottom of that page speaks to FSU, which is our frontline support unit. And an example of that, these are uniform officers, administrative, that work out of the Aurelia area. And an example would be a great number of our COVID non-compliance calls for service that come in. Most of them are education related to the public, just keeping them up on what the law of the day was. So those type of calls are redirected to the FSU unit, where an officer can take care of that over the phone rather than dispatching a patrol officer, say from the Brighton community, and tying them up on that. So to keep them out of the community as well. Top of this page is our online reporting tool. So that's an app. We're trying to get the word out as much as we can, especially to local businesses. It really has an impact for our gas drive-offs as well. Gas stations that have a lot of gas drive-offs, they generally report it to the police just for the purpose of for their insurance, so their insurance company can have an incident number, but that does tie up officers. So we encourage all the gas stations to use the pump before you pay method. And we've educated all of them on what's available, the online. And then the bottom of this page is also hours saved through officer report dictation, and it's an automated reporting system where the officers can call in and dictate their reports over a digital system while still in the cruiser and still on the road. So just a sample of the efficiencies. We like to put it back down to the thousands of hours saved on the front line, because we think that's one of the priority is more time the uniform officers are in the community, the better. That's what we're all looking for, and trying to get rid of as much administrative burden as we can. Moving on to the statistical part of the report from March to May. So motor vehicle collisions, this is countywide number, was 153 from March to May compared to 139 of last year. There were unfortunately 2 fatalities in that period. Both were involving off-road vehicles at separate locations. Then we have our matters of interest for March. Also 182 calls for service for Brighton. Only one was a call for service for COVID non-compliance. And then our April matters of interest, 147 calls for service for Brighton for April, and 8 calls for service related to COVID-19. We're trying to, we're adding in some pictures where we can on the reports as well. So these are actual pictures from the calls for service that the officers were involved in. In this case, that's Wesleyville United Church fire that's being investigated as an arson. The May matters of interest, 173 calls for service in Brighton. 13 of those were COVID related. Another picture, a good example of what our officers deal with on the daily with the one going through our detachment area. This was a case of road rage where a 12-gauge shotgun was pulled out and used in the offense, and the fellow was charged accordingly. But this type of weapons, this is going up and down the 401 every day and every night. So our officers try their best to intercept those. Next is our countywide motor vehicle collision template sheet. Just shows you what's going on in the other municipalities and the 401. So for the month of March, Brighton had a nice low number of 6. All 6 were property damage and no personal injury. Month of April, the 11 MVCs, 9 were property damage only, but 2 were personal injury involved, as a total injury in 4 people. And that brought your year-to-date total in April to 28 collisions. And the May template, nice low number of only 7 collisions in Brighton, and all were property damage only. So year-to-date total in Brighton, end of May, is 34. And overall, I'm pleased to see that. That's a nice low number, recognizing that we did have Mother Nature was pretty easy on us for the winter as well. And 1 or 2 bad days in the 401, as we all know, can really spike up our motor vehicle collision numbers. Next is the violent crime report for that period of time. A very low, only 4 violent crime incidents reported in Brighton. 1 was a sexual assault, 1 was an assault, and 2 others were crimes against people. Just a little bit more information. That 1 assault involved a female was assaulted by a male who was another tenant in the building, and he was charged accordingly. And the other crimes against person, a male reported that a neighbor was making threats against him, and threats does fall under the violent crime, threats to kill, of course. And in that case, there was insufficient evidence to proceed. And then another one, a little more serious, a male showed up at an ex-spouse's school saying he had a gun, and the male was, which he did not. However, the male was charged with uttering threats and possession of a weapon for dangerous purpose. Wasn't a true firearm, but serious nonetheless. For our property crime report, over the 3 months, 29 total. We had 3 break-and enters, 2 theft over 5,000, 10 theft under 5,000, 6 frauds, and 8 mischiefs. And that's just up 4 from the same period of time last year. I do note there the drug crime charge is showing 0 there, but I think that's not accurate. There should be 2 or 3 simply just from the drug warrant that was executed. So sometimes that happens if our case files aren't updated or gone through court yet. Then the UCR, which is attached to Stats Canada, isn't updated, so it doesn't get pulled in the analytics. Clearance rate page for March to May, violent crime, 75% clearance rate on those violent crime calls, and property crime, just under 14% for property crime, which is quite typical because overall property crime is very difficult to investigate and lay charges in. False alarm reports for March, there were 2. For April, there was 4. And for May, there was only 1. That's good news. Alarm's nice and low. And the next 3 pages are Provincial Offence Act charges for the county in March. Ms. Brighton had 86 total, 34 on the 401 and 52 elsewhere in the municipality. In April, 91 charges, 48 in the 41, 48 on the 401, 43 elsewhere. And in May, 41 charges, 7 on the 401 and 34 elsewhere in the municipality. Auxiliary report, it's only for March because for most of the pandemic, our auxiliary unit's been stood down for safety concerns, obviously, in pandemic. At this time during March, because of the provincial government lessening the restrictions, they were stood up for a period of time. Just enough for them to do a few food drives, one Easter drive, food drives taking place in Brighton. So the unit had 134.25 volunteer hours for the month of March. Shortly after that, they were stood down again because of the lockdown. And we received notice just a week and a half ago that the units has been stood back up. So hopefully that remains in effect. We're working with them and the unit commander right now in getting them out more engaged. It's been a long time for them to be out of the detachment and not working with us. So we have a couple plans in place. They're going to be out on foot patrol. You'll see them throughout Brighton and cruiser patrol in an area where there's a uniform constable available as well. Pending any questions from the board, sir, that's the March, April, May report.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions from members? I don't. Yes, Sir David.
Sir David.
Sir
Thank you.
David.
Jeff, what are the, when do you expect or do you expect the bike patrols to be back in Brighton?
Yeah, they've actually already, bicycle patrol, assuming you mean Dave, rather than Harleys, but we have both. Harley riders were very low on. We're trying to get one or two trained, but that course was canceled due to COVID in mid-April. Bicycle patrol, it's been up and going for the past month. And I know Phil Clark, Rob Hilton Devitt, there are at least 2 officers. They've been down this way in Brighton patrolling. Staff Sergeant Royer, he's put those messages out to all of our trained riders and to the sergeants that it's bike season. So we encourage it. Please have the officer and the ones that are trained are sort of chomping at the bit to get out there, especially on nice days, for that visibility piece, of course, as well. It's just such a great way to talk to people and you're more approachable that way. So farther we get into the summer, you'll be seeing more of it. When the officers can do it. What we suggest is just putting the bike rack on the back of the cruiser and put the mountain bike on there and just see how your day goes. If you have that 20 minutes, half an hour, and you're assigned to Brighton, go for a bike ride. And then if calls for service, maybe take you outside to the rural area of Brighton. It's a quick release system that we purchased for that reason, and just go back on the trunk and as time permits, come back in and maybe another patrol for another hour during the afternoon.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Jeff? Boy, quite a bunch this morning.
Taking it easy on me.
That's right. Well, let's move on. Correspondent. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tom. Tom, you're on mute.
Thanks, Lou. Just wanted to get a motion to receive that report for the minutes.
Will somebody move to, Laura move, seconded by David. All in favor? And that's to receive the report. Thank you.
Thanks.
Correspondence. I know that David sent us some correspondence. David, you wanted to, I see your hand up.
I don't, the correspondence I sent to Candace and Tom was in regards to Harbour Street. We can have that discussion now if you wish.
Sure. Sure.
So
I don't think there is no other correspondence that I know of.
No. So I received 2 emails from residences on Harbour Street asking about traffic enforcement, primarily speed enforcement. And it's an area where I often walk or ride. And I've noticed, along with my wife, that there appears to be more incidences of what I believe to be speeding. So I went back, and Alan McGee has shared with us the report from 2019, the last time Harbour Street was done. And it was a low infraction enforcement at 8%. I don't know if anything has changed. I know our population has increased a great deal. I know that there's a lot more use going over to the boat launch area, and that people are both, in my estimation, could be exceeding the speed limit, which is only 40 in that area, primarily going westbound. And also at the intersection of Ontario Street and Harbour, just as it goes into the boat launch area. Now that that's all paved, it tends to be more of a racetrack as people try and beat each other up Ontario Street. So my question was whether or not it would be appropriate to put the black cat out there, get some more statistics, prove it right, prove it wrong. Is it enforceable? And at least let the OPP deal with statistics rather than just, I think.
Sure. So we do have a report here from Alan McGee. And frankly, Tom, I don't understand it. And maybe just my lack of, graphs, and I was trying to make some justification. So can somebody, whether it's you, Tom, or somebody else, maybe, and these are recent numbers from what I see.
Yeah, I think Jeff is sharing it there, so I'm hoping maybe he has.
Yeah, I can add to that, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'll defer to Mario. Mario takes care of that as the ops manager. This is a very recent black cat that Alan does a great job deploying the Brighton's black cats, really puts them to good use. So this was from June 18th to June 23rd, and with a very low discretion of 10 kilometers per hour enforcement tolerance. We usually set it at 15. So I'll hand it over to Mario if you'd like to discuss that.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yeah, the inspector there stole my thunder a little bit. Yeah, usually it is a low tolerance rate. Usually we set these for 15 kilometers per hour, and this one was set for 10 kilometers per hour. So June 18th to June 23rd is when this analysis was conducted, and it came back a very low percentage of enforceable violations, meaning vehicles traveling 51 kilometers and above, only at 14%. So during that time period, there was a total of 7,371 vehicles that were monitored. 1,810 vehicles, so that's the greater number, were traveling 36 to 40 kilometers per hour. 41 to 45 kilometers per hour, there were 1,444 vehicles. And then 46 to 50, there were 1,438 vehicles. So hence why it shows up in the very low percentage of 14%. So that is quite often in these reports. Traffic complaints and speeding usually is one of the most often complaints that we get, and the observations for this one is it's probably again a perception. The roadway is narrow, there's no sidewalks, there's a lot of people walking along the Harbour Street, so that's we're looking at the statistics, and if that's, I hope that that's a satisfactory explanation for you.
Any questions, or David, any issues?
Well, my only comment would be that when the last speed enforcement was done, which was 2019, we were at an 8% of 8% of the drivers were in the enforcement limit of 51 and over. And now we're up to 14. Mario is correct. There is a white line sidewalk, which is used by both bicyclists and walkers. I don't know if the move from 8% or the increase from 8% to 14% is worthy of enforcement or not.
I haven't seen the previous one, but usually these are set at 15. So is it confirmed that it was set at at the 10 kilometers over the speed limit?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that, because then that certainly would have affected the the number. We have no issue whatsoever. We can certainly ask to have some officers go spend some time out there, but as the numbers indicate, it's going to be a very low enforcement area, and we do have areas that are that do need more attention. But yeah, we can certainly send someone out there.
I think the old adage, Mario, that visibility. We should park an empty cruiser there.
David, it's Lou. Just as a comment, I think for what it's worth, I agree with the visibility. I don't necessarily agree with the empty cruiser, but if we spend a couple of hours with the radar, the people see and somebody gets nabbed. I think in many cases, from a layman's perspective, I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, we can certainly do that, and I will address the empty cruiser. Yeah, we don't do that. We don't just leave an empty cruiser somewhere. But for sure, yeah, no, we can certainly have a platoon sergeant assigned to have an officer, go spend a little bit of time out there and have some visibility and just fly the colors for sure.
Thank you.
That's good. And I'll make sure I'll stay out of the way.
Yeah, really.
I won't drive down there.
Well, 90% of the people who will violate are locals.
That's right. Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay. Any other questions? So, Mario, maybe just a quick comment. Maybe if some action is taken, maybe you could report back to the PSB next meeting to just give some feedback, if whatever the action might be.
Certainly, we'll keep track of that and we'll report back to you.
Thank you. Any other correspondence? I don't think we have any. Any member of the public? We don't have any. And I don't believe we have an in-camera session to speak of. I will commit to the board that if we hear back from the ministry about our submission, or whatever that might be, that I will make sure I'll forward that information if it happens before next meeting. There was some indication, I'll just add, I'll come to you in a second, Your Worship, that as far as new boards, nothing might happen until next year sometime. All going well. Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's certainly what I'm hearing as well, that's probably next year before we hear anything about the combined board. Gentlemen, and I'm talking to the uniformed gentleman now, the speeding complaints I'm getting seem to be from areas where we enter from a higher speed to a lower speed. So specifically as we come westbound on County Road 2 into the 40 zone around John Street, and along Smith Street as we enter the 40 zone at Georgina Street on Dundas Street, when Smith Street becomes Dundas Street at Georgina Street westbound there as well, and other locations like that. So just a heads up, I always comment, have you called the OPP non-emergency line? Please do that. Squeaky wheel gets the oil, blah, 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 blah. So just wanted to bring it up though, because it seems to be that's where the comments I'm getting are coming from with regard to speeding. We are working on a congratulation for grads event with a couple of the graduates from ENSS. So Jeff, I would expect, or Mario, I would expect that you would hear from Mr. Miller or Mr. Parkinson from Parks and Rec or Public Works about that. It's not going to be till later in July, so we're aiming for step 3 of reopening before that happens. That's the advice we've given to the young grads who are organizing this. They met this morning at Memorial Park just to go over the ins and outs of what they can expect from the municipality and what their significant responsibilities would be in organizing this event. So I think they're going to try to move it forward, and good for them if they can. But and we're going to support them as much as they can, because it's been tough on imagine being 18, right? Just imagine it. It's been a tough year. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. And I'm getting poked at by someone whose husband has been charged with taking videos in or around the OPP station. I have forwarded them off to the OIPRD. Is that the correct civilian complaints place? And they seem to have stopped poking at me on Facebook Messenger, which is great. But just wanted to give you the heads up there too.
Thank you, Worship. Deputy Mayor Vink.
Thanks. And I just wanted to talk about Harbour Street. Just although the rate of people speeding is quite low, I think it's the volume of people who are walking and biking along there that makes it an issue, and other areas in Brighton that are like that. And I think just for that reason alone, especially this season where sometimes the road is more for pedestrians and bikers and there's no room for cars, which causes the problem. And I have seen people flying along here as well on a pretty regular basis. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thanks. Yes, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to add on that and reinforce that our black cats, that is just one indicator for us. And we certainly recognize, especially for a street like Harbour Street, we want that feeling of safety and well-being with all the community members. And regardless of what black cat comes back, we know, the positive impact, which is seeing a black and white. Radar will slow people down. So as Mario mentioned, that's not a problem for us. And Harbour Street will always be a street, probably because of that, because of its popularity and pedestrians. So
Thanks, Jeff. Any further questions? I just want to comment more pertaining to the mayor and deputy mayor. I wonder if this is just an observation. Highway 2 by the arena, the traffic lights. Can we extend the duration of the green, or can you extend the duration of the green east and west? I say that and reduce the duration, on Terry Fox Boulevard, and is that in more than one occasion you sit through that light through 2 sequences before you get through, and there's nobody on Terry Fox, and I fear that even for pedestrians, somebody's going to take a chance because there's nobody coming. It's just an observation. Yes, you right.
I will, Mr. Chair, thank you. I will bring this up to CAO Castleman. I have an update with him as soon as this meeting's over. I think that might be one of the lights that will be looked at in a reconfiguration, modernization of our lighting system coming up. So that was just done at the 2 main intersections where you now see there's an advanced crossing, pedestrian crossing, which I think has been fairly well received in the community. I know I appreciate it. So, and I'm still fairly mobile, so I certainly hope those who have walking concerns are appreciating it as well. I think at Terry Fox though, that's a pressure sensitive system, so it should only activate if there's a car waiting to come on to County Road 2. But I'll check on that though, for sure.
It's just a duration you wait on 2 going westbound. Normally takes certain times of day takes 2 cycles.
Come in on County Road 64, man. Like
probably. Anyways, any other business? Then if I get back to my agenda here, I guess we're going to adjourn. The next meeting is I'm not sure. Tom, do we have a meeting date?
Yeah, I believe it's in the fall. I think it's November.
Yeah, okay. But if there's anything, like I say, specifically with the reshaping the police services board for the, we'll be in touch, hopefully before then. If not, we'll see you in November. Thank you and have a good summer, folks.